I've been formulating the question. Well, can you please break the belief that because that's what makes me suffer. When you said about thoughts, that this is okay to have thoughts, you have thoughts. I've been realizing that, I'm having a thought and I'm not, and there's no suffering. But the thought that I how can I say that I don't like or that I suffer is the thought that contains the belief that enlightenment, when enlightenment happens, you become an extraordinary human being. You just don't worry about nothing. Like you are in traffic, and it's okay. I am in a traffic, and you are in or for example, the dentist thing. Like you are with headache. Oh, I'm with headache. You don't like. That's my belief. I
Okay,
can't.
well, next time somebody's mobile phone goes off, I will lose it with them, and that will cure you of your belief that.
Because it seems that enlightenment, it's really simple. The only thing that prevents me is those beliefs that are not. Because the only thought that I was suffering it in the 2 days that I was observing is the thought that says that I'm far away from my true nature, and I need to do a lot of work to come back to it. That's the only thought that makes me suffer, like that I don't like, I would say.
That's true. It's another way of saying the only thought that makes you suffer is the thought that contains you as a personal entity within it. It's just another way of saying what you've just said. You said the only thought that makes me suffer is the thought that says I am a long way away from enlightenment. That's another way of saying I am a long way away from unlimited, ever-present, inherently peaceful, self-aware being. So I've just reformulated what you've just said. The only thought that makes you happy is the thought that contains the separate self within it. The thought that rises on behalf of the separate self. But plenty of thoughts arise that are not on the behalf of the separate self, like the thought, for God's sake, turn your phones off. That kind of thought doesn't arise on behalf of a separate self.
Because
it arises on behalf of the desire to create a certain space that is appropriate for our meetings.
Do you have daydreams?
Daydreams?
Yeah, sometimes when you're doing nothing, like you don't have nothing, I don't know, you have daydreams, like imagining.
Yes, my thoughts are free. The purpose is not to be without thoughts. It is simply the thoughts, just those thoughts that arise on behalf of the separate self. Those are the only problematic thoughts. All creativity comes out of some kind of a dream. When the mind is free to dream something new. That's not an egoic thought. On the contrary, if your daydream is a repetitive thought whose purpose is to avoid your having to fully feel the sense of lack or dis-ease in yourself, then your daydream would be an egoic dream. But not all daydreams come from the desire to avoid the discomfort of the sense of lack. Some of them are creative. Lots of scientific discoveries take place in when people's minds are just open, free, and unfocused. That's when a new possibility comes into the mind.
I know that you already said that a thousand times that it's okay to have dreams, it's okay to have goals, but what about don't have dreams and don't have goals? Because my only goal is to like be you. That's my only goal in life, and that's.
No, I don't recommend that.
Not, not be you like Rupert. It's be you like enlightened. Doesn't matter where I will be. I don't care.
Rupert is not enlightened.
No, oh yes, I know. I just want enlightenment to take place permanently. That's my only goal.
But that's your problem. You want enlightenment to take place. You want enlightenment to happen, and by cherishing that belief, you believe that enlightenment is something that's going to happen in the future. It's not. Enlightenment never happens. It's not something that happens. It is your nature now. And by believing that it is something that's going to happen in the future, you prevent yourself from seeing what is present now. Would you agree that anything that takes place in the future must be limited? It must be limited in time. Let's say enlightenment, according to you, would start at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. So if it starts at 3 o'clock on next Sunday afternoon, it means it's not present now. Yeah. So if it starts at a certain time, it must, by definition, end at another time. Would it be possible for anything to start and not stop? It's not possible. Something that starts in time must stop in time. So by imagining that enlightenment is a state of the mind that is going to start, you are at best, you're aiming for a peaceful state of mind, which will one day come to an end. Enlightenment is not an experience. It is not a state of mind. It is not something that happens. It is that which is already present, but seemingly veiled by thoughts and perceptions. I don't know how to say that more clearly. You cannot become it. If I were to ask you now, stand up and take a step towards yourself, what would you do? Where would you go?
So your job is to remember us that we are already enlightened?
You could put it like that. Or yes, you could put it like that.
But just
my job is to remind you. Forget about enlightenment. Yeah, just forget about enlightenment. It complicates everything. Don't think about enlightenment. and the whole kind of search for enlightenment, just forget about it. Enlightenment simply means knowing who you truly are, not becoming something in the future, just knowing who you truly are now. Enlightenment is just an exotic word for the knowing the nature of our own being, or its knowing of itself, because it is our being that knows itself. Our being is not known by something other than itself. It's not something that you can acquire, it's not something that somebody can give to you. So yes, my job is to continually remind us of that and to provide pathways from where we seem to be to where we really are. And because there are lots of different places where different people seem to be, so there are lots of different pathways.